3 years have passed since Adrian found Arya crying under that bus shelter on Sunset Boulevard. 3 years since she had nothing. 3 years since he was broken. Now Arya Sterling is one of the most successful music artists in the world. Her debut album went platinum. Her world tour sold out arenas. Music critics call her voice angelic, transformative, life-changing. She's won 3 Grammy Awards. She's on magazine covers. She's exactly what she dreamed of being when she was 18 years old and refused to go to college. She's a singer whose voice changes people's lives, a singer who means something, a singer who matters. And Adrian Stone, he's her husband. He stands backstage at her concerts watching her perform, his handsome face showing pride and love. His company, Stone Technologies, has become a powerhouse in social impact investing. He's richer than ever, but his wealth isn't what defines him anymore. What defines him is his partnership with Arya. What defines him is their life together. They live in a beautiful penthouse in Los Angeles. They're building a foundation together. They're planning to start a family. They're happy in a way that seems almost too perfect to be real. But perfection never lasts. Because success brings complications. Fame brings unwanted attention. Money brings people out of the woodwork. And Arya's meteoric rise to stardom is about to attract someone from the past, someone with unfinished business, someone who's been waiting for an opportunity to make things right or make things worse. Welcome to part 2 of this story. The story of what happens when dreams come true and old ghosts resurface. Subscribe now and hit that notification bell, because this story is about to get complicated in ways you won't expect. After Adrian and Arya got married, she threw herself into her music with new purpose. Marcus Chen, her producer, was amazed by the intensity of her creativity. She wrote songs about being homeless, about being saved, about love changing everything. She wrote songs about her parents, about their rejection, about choosing art over safety. She wrote songs that were honest and raw and powerful. The songs resonated. When she released her first single, He Saw Me Cry, it went viral within days. The song is a direct reference to the day Adrian found her. It tells the story of rock bottom and rescue and love. Music critics called it the most emotionally honest pop song in a decade. Fans connected with the lyrics in profound ways. The song hit number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. Her album dropped 6 months later and debuted at number 1. Every song was successful. Radio stations couldn't stop playing her music. Streaming services pushed her content to millions of listeners. Within 1 year, she had sold 3 million albums worldwide. But with success came complications. Her parents came calling. 3 years earlier, her mother had locked her out of the house, called her a failure, told her she'd never amount to anything. But now that Arya is famous and successful, and presumably rich from her record deals, her mother suddenly wanted to reconcile. Arya received a letter at her management company office. It was from her mother, handwritten, apologetic. The letter said, "Dear Arya, I saw you on the Billboard Awards last night. You were singing He Saw Me Cry and I couldn't stop crying. I realized what I did to you. I pushed you away when you needed me most. I told you that your dream was impossible. I was wrong. I'm so proud of you. I'm so sorry for what I said and did. I've missed you every day for 3 years. Your father has missed you. We made a terrible mistake. Please come home. Please let us be a part of your life again. Please forgive us. All my love. Mom." Arya cried when she read the letter. Adrian held her while she processed the emotions: anger, sadness, forgiveness, hope. "What do you want to do?" Adrian asked gently. "I don't know," Arya said honestly. "Part of me wants to tell them to go to hell. Part of me wants to forgive them immediately and have my family back. Part of me is scared that if I let them back in, they'll hurt me again." Adrian kissed her forehead. "Whatever you decide, I'm here with you." Arya decided to meet with her parents. She invited them to lunch at a fancy restaurant in Beverly Hills. She wanted neutral ground. She wanted her power back. When her parents arrived, they barely recognized their daughter. She was no longer the struggling young artist in thrift store clothes. She was a successful woman in designer everything, with her husband beside her, confident and powerful. Her father cried when he hugged her. Her mother apologized over and over. They expressed how proud they were, how wrong they had been, how much they loved her. Arya listened. She cried a little, and she accepted their apology, not because the pain was gone, but because she had healed enough to forgive them. Over the next year, her relationship with her parents slowly rebuilt. They attended some of her concerts. They apologized again and again. They told her they understood now why she had to follow her dream. They told her they should have supported her. Arya's family was broken but healing. By Arya's second year of success, she had won 2 Grammy Awards. Her world tour was announced. She was booked to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show. She was being offered movie roles and endorsement deals. The world knew her name. It was during this peak moment that someone from her past came back into her life. Marcus Chen called her one afternoon. His voice sounded strange, nervous, uncomfortable. "Arya, I need to tell you something," Marcus said, "and I don't want you to hear it from the media. I need you to hear it from me first." "What's wrong?" Arya asked, hearing the tension in his voice. "Victoria Chen is back in Lowe's Angels," Marcus said quietly. Arya's blood went cold. Victoria was Adrian's ex-fiancée. Victoria was the woman who had tried to blackmail them, who had tried to destroy their relationship, who had been arrested for her crimes. "What do you mean she's back?" Arya asked carefully. "I thought she went to prison." "She did," Marcus said. "Her trial was quick. She had evidence of all her crimes. She served 2 years with good behavior. She got out last month. And from what I'm hearing, she's moved back to Lowe's Angels. She's restarted her career. She's positioning herself as this reformed woman who paid her dues and is ready to rebuild her life." Arya's mind was racing. Victoria was out. Victoria was back. And Victoria would soon realize that Arya had become massively successful and famous. "Does Adrian know?" Arya asked. "Not yet," Marcus said. "I heard this through industry channels, but yes, he should know. She'll try to reach out to him, or to you. People always try to reconnect with celebrities. It's a game." After she got off the phone with Marcus, Arya called Adrian. She told him the news about Victoria's release and return to Lowe's Angels. Adrian's reaction was calm but serious. "We should have security," he said. "I don't trust her. She's shown us what she's capable of." "I'm not afraid of her," Arya said, though her heart was beating faster. "I'm just surprised. I thought she'd want to stay as far away from us as possible." "People like Victoria don't work that way," Adrian said. "She's had 2 years to stew about how we beat her, how we recorded her confession, how she was humiliated. She'll want revenge, or she'll want to manipulate her way back in, thinking we'll forgive her because enough time has passed." Adrian was right to be cautious. Victoria Chen had spent 2 years in prison thinking about Arya and Adrian. She thought about how they had beaten her, how they had outsmarted her, how she had gone to prison while they got to live their perfect life. She obsessed over Arya's rise to fame. She watched her music videos. She listened to her songs. She read about her Grammy wins and sold-out concerts and endorsement deals. And she realized something. Arya was now more famous than Adrian. Arya was now the powerful one. Arya was now the one with the leverage. Victoria also realized something else. Arya's success had brought unwanted attention from her past. Within months of becoming famous, Arya's parents had come crawling back. They had reconciled with their daughter. The story of Arya's estrangement from her family and subsequent reconciliation was being covered by media outlets. What if Victoria could tell a story? What if Victoria could present herself as another person who Arya had hurt, another person who deserved redemption? Victoria hired a publicist. She worked with therapists on camera. She gave interviews to magazines about her time in prison and her journey toward rehabilitation. She positioned herself as a reformed woman who had made terrible mistakes and was now dedicated to rebuilding her life and making amends. And she waited for the right moment to reach out to Arya. That moment came when Arya announced her Super Bowl halftime show performance. Victoria wrote Arya a letter. It was carefully crafted, beautifully written, and strategically vulnerable. Dear Arya, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. I know I did terrible things. I hurt you. I tried to destroy your relationship with Adrian. I was cruel and manipulative and criminal. I spent 2 years in prison thinking about what I did, and every single day I regretted it. Every single day I wished I could take it back. I've been working with therapists. I've been doing the work to understand why I acted that way, the jealousy, the rage, the desire to hurt someone else because I was hurting. I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you the truth of my journey. I heard you're performing at the Super Bowl halftime show. I'm so happy for you. You're living your dream. You deserve that. You always deserved that. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything except the chance to tell you I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. If you never want to see me again, I understand completely. I just wanted you to know that I'm working to become a better person. And part of that is acknowledging the harm I caused you. Victoria. The letter was brilliant in its manipulation. It positioned Victoria as reformed. It was humble without being pathetic. It was apologetic without demanding forgiveness. It was perfectly designed to make Arya feel bad if she didn't at least respond. Adrian read the letter and immediately distrusted it. It's a play, he said flatly. She's trying to get back into our lives. She's trying to position herself as reformed so she has access to you again. Don't fall for it. But Arya was struggling with something different. She's right about one thing, Arya said quietly. I did hurt her. Before all the Victoria blackmail drama, she was engaged to you. She was planning a life with you. And Adrian, you broke her heart. You called off the engagement. You made her feel rejected and abandoned. Adrian looked at Arya carefully. Are you saying you think we should forgive her? No, Arya said. I'm saying I understand the part of her that felt hurt. I'm saying I understand why she wanted revenge. And I'm saying maybe we could have some compassion for that, even if we can't forgive what she did. This was the thing Adrian loved about Arya. She was emotionally intelligent. She could hold two truths at once. Victoria was a terrible person who did terrible things, and Victoria was also a hurt person who had been rejected. I think you could write her back, Adrian said slowly. A brief letter. Tell her you forgive her but you need distance. Tell her you're glad she's working on herself, but don't offer her anything more than that. Arya wrote Victoria back. The letter was kind but firm. She offered forgiveness but not friendship. She wished Victoria well on her healing journey but made clear they would not be maintaining contact. Arya thought that would be the end of it. She was wrong. By year 3 of Arya's fame, things had become incredibly complex. She was now one of the most recognizable faces in the world. She had won 3 Grammy Awards. She had performed at the Super Bowl halftime show, watched by 115 million people. She had sold over 10 million albums worldwide. She was worth an estimated $150 million. She was exactly what she had dreamed of becoming. But fame brought complications she hadn't anticipated. First, people tried to use her for access. Record label executives wanted to date her. Other celebrities wanted to collaborate with her, hoping her magic would rub off on them. Agents wanted to represent her. Everyone wanted a piece of her success. Adrian protected her fiercely. He became very selective about who was allowed into their inner circle. He hired a security team. He made sure she was never alone at public events. Second, people tried to tear down what she had built. Rumors started circulating that she had used Adrian's money to buy her success, that her songs were ghost-written, that she was lip-syncing at concerts, that she didn't actually have the vocal range she claimed. Music industry people who were jealous of her success tried to undermine her. Arya had to deal with the emotional weight of being publicly attacked, while also dealing with the pressure of maintaining her success. Third, her relationship with Adrian came under scrutiny. The paparazzi constantly photographed them. Tabloids speculated about their marriage. When Adrian was seen having lunch with a female business partner, gossip sites ran headlines. Is Adrian Stone cheating on his famous wife? The invasion of privacy was exhausting. And through it all, Arya was trying to create new music, tour the world, maintain her family relationships, and be a good wife to Adrian. She was spreading herself too thin. By the end of year 3, Arya was exhausted. She had been working non-stop. She had promoted 3 albums. She had completed 2 world tours. She had filmed a documentary about her life. She had done hundreds of interviews. She had maintained a social media presence. She had managed her business empire. She hadn't taken a real break in 3 years. Adrian noticed first. He noticed she was sleeping less. He noticed she was forgetting things. He noticed her mood was becoming volatile, one moment celebrating a success, the next moment crying about the pressure. One night, after a massive concert at Madison Square Garden, where she performed for 20,000 people, Arya broke down completely. They were back in their hotel suite. Adrian was telling her how incredible she was, how the show was perfect, how the audience loved her, and Arya just broke. "I can't do this anymore," she said, tears streaming down her beautiful honey-brown face. Her long, silky hair was sweaty from the performance. Her dark eyes were red from crying. "I can't keep doing this. I'm exhausted. I'm empty. I'm performing every single day and I'm losing myself." Adrian held her while she cried. He didn't try to fix it, he just held her. "I wanted this so badly," Arya said through tears. "I sacrificed everything for this. I lost my family. I lived on the streets. I fought so hard to get here. And now that I'm here, I realize I'm miserable. How is that possible? How do you get everything you dreamed of and discover it's not enough?" Adrian wiped her tears. "Maybe it's time to rest," he said gently. "Maybe it's time to take a step back. You don't have to do everything, Arya. You don't have to prove anything." "I have contractual obligations," Arya said, the practical part of her brain taking over. "I have album deadlines. I have tours scheduled. I have sponsorship deals. I can't just stop." "You can renegotiate," Adrian said. "You can take time off. You can reassess what you actually want. Arya, you've already won. You've already proved that you deserve to be a singer. You already mean something. You've changed millions of people's lives with your music. You don't have to keep pushing." Arya lay in Adrian's arms and let herself cry until there were no tears left. The next morning, she made a decision. She called her manager. She told him she needed a break. She told him she was going to postpone her album release and her upcoming tour. She told him she needed 6 months of rest and recovery before she committed to any new projects. Her manager was shocked. "The label won't like this," he said. "Your momentum is unstoppable right now. If you take a break, you lose that momentum. Other artists will take your spotlight." "I don't care," Arya said, and she meant it. "I'm burnt out, I'm exhausted, and if I don't take care of myself, I'm going to lose my voice or my mind or both. So I'm taking a break. Figure it out." She announced the break on social media. Her fans were devastated but also supportive. Her team was freaking out but also understanding. Everyone could see she was exhausted. And Victoria saw her opportunity. Victoria spent months developing her plan carefully. She knew she couldn't go after Arya or Adrian directly. That had failed spectacularly before. What she needed was a different angle. She hired a private investigator to dig into Arya's past. Not her recent past, that was public knowledge, but her early career before Adrian, her time as a struggling artist, her history with other people in the music industry. And the investigator found something interesting. Arya had worked with a producer named David Zhang in year 1 of her struggle. David Zhang had mentored her. He had helped her prepare for auditions. There were rumors in the industry that their relationship had been more than professional, that they had dated briefly. Then Arya had moved on and started working with Marcus Chen, who became her main producer and mentor. It was nothing scandalous, just a brief relationship between two young artists trying to make it in the industry. But Victoria could make it scandalous. Victoria hired a team of people. She paid a significant amount of money to fabricate text messages between Arya and David Zhang. She created fake emails. She created a narrative that Arya had cheated on Adrian with David Zhang while Adrian was traveling for business. She positioned the story with a magazine editor who was known for sensationalism and had no regard for journalistic integrity. The plan was simple: explode this false scandal into the media. Let it damage Arya's reputation and her marriage. Let it distract from her success. Let Arya suffer the way Victoria had suffered. Victoria was counting on the fact that in the age of social media, a story didn't have to be true to do damage. It just had to be juicy enough to go viral. One morning, Arya woke up to her phone blowing up with notifications. A major entertainment magazine had published an article with the headline, "Grammy winner Arya Sterling's secret affair with music producer David Zhang while married to billionaire Adrian Stone revealed." The article included evidence, screenshots of fake text messages showing Arya and David exchanging romantic words, fake emails discussing secret meetings, a narrative that painted Arya as a cheater and a fraud. The article went viral within hours. By noon, Arya Lies About Love was trending on Twitter. By evening, #Arya the Cheater was the #1 trending topic worldwide. Entertainment news shows were running segments about it. Morning shows were discussing it. Social media was filled with commentary. Some people defended Arya, but many people turned on her. "She was always fake anyway," people commented. "You could tell she wasn't genuine." "I knew something was off about her story. A homeless woman who gets saved by a billionaire and then becomes a mega star. Too convenient. She cheated on her husband while building her career. What kind of role model is that?" The narrative was simple, viral, and completely false. Adrian woke up to the same news. His first reaction was to protect Arya. His second reaction was to recognize Victoria's fingerprints all over this. He called his legal team. "This is a fabricated scandal. Everything in that article is false. I need you to sue the magazine, the journalist, and anyone who spread these lies. And I need you to trace who funded this. I have a strong feeling I know who's behind it." Arya was devastated. She was crying in their penthouse while her world crumbled. Everything she had worked for, her reputation, her credibility, her image as an authentic artist, was being destroyed by lies. "This is what happens when you become famous," Adrian said, holding her. "People want to tear you down. People are jealous of your success, and people like Victoria see an opportunity." "How do you know Victoria is behind this?" Arya asked through tears. "Because this is exactly her playbook," Adrian said. "She attacks what you care about most. First time she tried to use our relationship against me. This time she's using your reputation against you. It's her pattern." Adrian's legal team moved quickly. They found the magazine editor's communications showing that Victoria had paid him a substantial amount of money to run the story. They found the digital forensics proving the text messages and emails were fabricated. They found the private investigator Victoria had hired. Within 48 hours, they had irrefutable evidence that the scandal was orchestrated by Victoria. Adrian went public with the evidence. He held a press conference with Arya beside him. "The story published about my wife is completely false," Adrian said, his face showing controlled anger. "Every piece of evidence in that article has been fabricated, and the person responsible is Victoria Chen, my ex-fiancée, who was previously convicted of blackmail and illegal recording and served 2 years in prison for crimes against my wife and me." Adrian laid out the evidence. He showed the communications between Victoria and the magazine editor. He showed the digital forensics proving the text messages were fake. He showed the bank transfers proving Victoria had paid for the fabrication. "I'm pressing charges again," Adrian said. "This time for defamation, fraud, and conspiracy. Victoria Chen will answer in court for this." Arya held Adrian's hand as he spoke. Her beautiful face showed a mix of relief and exhaustion and heartbreak. She had been falsely accused of something terrible, but at least now the truth was being revealed. After the press conference, Arya did something unexpected. She released a statement through her official social media channels. "I want to address the scandal that broke yesterday. Every claim made in that article is false. I did not have an affair. I was not unfaithful to my husband. The evidence presented was fabricated. But more importantly, I want to address what's really happening here. The reason this scandal exists is because Victoria Chen, a woman who has already hurt me in the past, who has already tried to destroy my life, who spent 2 years in prison for her crimes, has orchestrated this entire thing out of spite and revenge. The reason she did this is because she couldn't break my marriage, so she decided to break my reputation instead. And I'm standing here today to say, I'm not broken. My marriage is not broken. My reputation, the one I've built on authenticity and hard work, will not be destroyed by lies. To the people who believe the false story, I get it. In a world of deep fakes and doctored evidence, it's hard to know what's real. I don't blame you for being skeptical. But I ask you to look at the facts. I ask you to see the evidence that shows these accusations are false. I ask you to consider who has something to gain from destroying me. Victoria has repeatedly shown she will go to extreme lengths to hurt me and Adrian. This is just her latest attempt. And finally, I want to say this to anyone who has been the target of false accusations, false evidence, false narratives. You are not alone. The truth always comes out eventually, and the truth is more powerful than any lie. I'm going to rest now. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to remember why I wanted to be a singer in the first place, to share my voice, to connect with people, to create art that matters. I'm not going to let this scandal define me. I'm not going to let Victoria's hatred poison my life. I'm moving forward. With love and gratitude. Arya. Her statement was powerful and authentic. It went viral for all the right reasons. Within hours, #Arya is strong was trending. Millions of people rallied to her defense. Major celebrities posted their support. Other musicians, who had experienced false scandals themselves, publicly defended her. The narrative shifted. Instead of Arya being the bad guy, Victoria became the villain again. And this time, the evidence was so clear that even skeptics couldn't deny it. Adrian's legal team moved quickly. Within a week, Victoria was arrested on multiple charges: defamation, fraud, conspiracy, paying for false evidence, interference with peace. The trial was swift. The evidence was undeniable. Victoria was convicted on all counts. The judge, referencing Victoria's previous conviction and her ongoing pattern of violence and manipulation, sentenced her to 5 years in prison. This time, there would be no early release. This time, Victoria would serve her full sentence. At the sentencing, Arya and Adrian attended. Arya sat in the courtroom with her husband's hand in hers as Victoria was taken away in handcuffs. Victoria's beautiful face was twisted with rage and hatred. "You haven't won," Victoria screamed as she was escorted out. "You think you've won, but you haven't. I'll come for you again. I'll destroy you again." But this time, Arya didn't flinch. This time, she wasn't afraid. This time, she was done with Victoria completely. After the sentencing, Arya and Adrian walked out of the courthouse to a crowd of supporters. People were cheering for them. Reporters were asking questions, but Arya just walked with Adrian, her head held high. In that moment, she realized something important. Victoria no longer had power over her. Victoria's hatred no longer mattered. Victoria's revenge no longer scared her. Because Arya had something Victoria would never have: authentic love, real success, and the strength of character to face her enemies and come out stronger. With Victoria back in prison and the scandal resolved, Arya finally allowed herself to rest. For 6 months, she didn't release music. She didn't perform publicly. She didn't do press or interviews or appearances. She just lived. She and Adrian traveled to beautiful places. They spent time in nature. They reconnected with each other after the intensity of the scandal. They talked about having children. They talked about what they actually wanted from life versus what the world expected of them. During this rest period, Arya wrote a new album, but this time she wasn't writing for the world. She was writing for herself. She was writing about healing. She was writing about love. She was writing about second chances and redemption. The album that emerged from this rest period was different from her previous work. It was slower. It was more introspective. It was more vulnerable and honest. She called the album Second Chances. When she released it, critics praised it as her most mature work. Listeners connected with it on a deeper level than her previous albums. It became clear that Arya's journey through scandal and rest had deepened her artistry. The album went platinum in its first week. But this time, Arya didn't obsess over the numbers. This time, she was just grateful to be alive, to be healthy, and to have found her voice again, not just as a singer but as a person. When Arya returned to the music world, she did so on her own terms. She gave one interview, just one. She chose the interviewer carefully, a journalist she respected who was known for asking thoughtful questions rather than sensational ones. In the interview, Arya talked about her journey. She talked about the exhaustion. She talked about the scandal. She talked about her rest period. She talked about what had changed. I realized during my break that I had been chasing something external, Arya said in the interview. I had been chasing validation, chasing success, chasing the idea that if I just worked hard enough and achieved enough, I would finally be enough. But that's not how it works. No amount of achievement will ever make you feel fundamentally okay if you're not okay inside. She continued, so I worked on myself. I went to therapy. I processed my childhood trauma with my parents. I dealt with my abandonment issues and my need to prove myself. And through that work, I became a different artist. I became someone who makes music because I love making music, not because I'm trying to prove something. The interview was published and went viral for all the right reasons. People were moved by her honesty. They were inspired by her vulnerability. They could see that she had genuinely grown. Her new album, Second Chances, was released and received even greater critical acclaim than her previous work. But more importantly, Arya felt genuinely happy about the work she had created. She wasn't obsessing about chart positions. She was just grateful people were listening. Somewhere along the way, without consciously deciding to, Arya had become a business mogul. She had her music, but she also had record label relationships. She had endorsement deals. She had her own production company. She had invested in other artists' careers. She had built a media empire. She was now worth an estimated $250 million. Her financial advisor came to her one day with a proposal. You could expand massively, he said. You could build a streaming platform. You could create a music label focused exclusively on emerging artists. You could produce films and television. You could become a true mogul, not just an artist but a media empire. Arya listened to the proposal. It was exciting. It was ambitious. It was everything she had dreamed about achieving at one point. But she realized something. She didn't want that. I'm good, she told her financial advisor. I have enough money. I have more than enough. I don't need to build an empire. I don't need to expand. I'm happy where I am. Her financial advisor looked shocked. You could make billions, he said. I could, Arya agreed. But why? What would I do with billions? What void would that fill? I spent the first years of my success chasing more and more success, and it made me miserable. I'm not doing that anymore. Instead, Arya made a different choice. Arya and Adrian decided to dedicate themselves to philanthropy. They created the Second Chances Foundation, named after Arya's album and their philosophy about life. The foundation provided support to young people who were homeless or at risk of homelessness. They funded music education programs for kids who couldn't afford them. They supported mental health services. And they made a specific commitment. They would help young female artists who were struggling financially to pursue their dreams. They put $100 million into the foundation's initial endowment. Arya got personally involved in the work. She didn't just write checks. She visited the centers they funded. She worked with the young artists they supported. She listened to their stories. She mentored them. One of the young artists they supported reminded Arya so much of herself that it made her cry. The girl was 17, homeless, singing in shelters and small venues, being told by everyone that her dream was impossible. Arya spent time with her. She encouraged her. She told her that her dream was possible. She helped connect her with producers and recording opportunities. Watching this girl pursue her dream, seeing her face light up with possibility, Arya understood why she had become an artist in the first place. It wasn't for the Grammy Awards. It wasn't for the fame. It wasn't for the money. It was for moments like this. It was for the ability to believe in someone and help them believe in themselves. By the time Arya had been married to Adrian for 4 years, they were ready for the next chapter. They wanted children. Arya became pregnant and gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. They named her Maya, after Adrian's grandmother. Being a mother shifted something in Arya. Her priorities reorganized themselves naturally. Music was still important. Her career was still important, but it was no longer everything. She wanted to be present for her daughter. She wanted to be a hands-on mother. She wanted to create a childhood for Maya that was full of love and stability, the kind of childhood Arya had not had. Adrian became a deeply involved father. He built a home office so he could work while also being available for his daughter. The couple hired help with the daily logistics of childcare, but they were present. They were involved. They were parents first. When Maya was a year old, Arya released a new album called Motherhood. It was her most personal work yet. It included songs about becoming a mother. It included songs about love and protection and vulnerability. The album was successful, but Arya kept the tour limited to ensure she could be home with her family. She performed maybe 30 shows that year instead of the 100 shows she had done at the height of her career. And she was infinitely happier. One evening, Arya was sitting on the balcony of their penthouse, watching the Los Angeles skyline, while Adrian came out with a bottle of wine. "Do you ever regret it?" Adrian asked, pouring wine for both of them. "Regret what?" Arya asked. "That we didn't have more time together without all the insanity," Adrian said. "You were barely with me before you became famous. We had 1 year together as a couple before the pressure and the fame started. Sometimes I wonder if we missed something important." Arya took a sip of wine and thought about the question. "No," she said finally, "I don't regret it. Yes, things were crazy. Yes, we didn't get a normal period where we could just be together without external pressure. But Adrian, we got tested. Our relationship got tested in the most extreme ways possible, and we survived. We thrived, actually. We became stronger." She looked at him. "Besides, if I hadn't become famous, if our life had been normal and quiet, I wonder if we would have appreciated what we have as much. Maybe we needed to experience the craziness to understand how precious this is." Adrian pulled her close. "I love you," he said. "I love you too," Arya said. "And I'm grateful for every version of our story. The desperate version when we first met, the ambitious version when I was chasing success, the broken version when Victoria attacked us, and this version. This version where we just get to be together and raise our daughter and create the life we actually want." 5 years after everything began, Arya had accomplished something remarkable. She was still successful as a musician. She still made music. She still performed. But she had built a legacy that went beyond herself. Through the Second Chances Foundation, She had helped over 5,000 young people get out of homelessness. She had funded music education for 10,000 children. She had mentored hundreds of young artists. She had 2 children with Adrian, Maya, and a son named Gabriel. They were raising their family in the penthouse in Los Angeles, but they were also spending time in other parts of the world, showing their children different cultures and perspectives. Adrian's company had become a powerhouse in social impact investing. He was using his wealth not just to make money, but to create positive change in the world. He and Arya worked together on many projects. Arya had also become an advocate for mental health awareness. She spoke publicly about her own struggles with anxiety and burnout. She encouraged other artists to prioritize their well-being over their careers. She used her platform to destigmatize mental health issues. Her parents were part of her life. The estrangement had been healed. They helped with childcare and spent time with their grandchildren. Her mother especially loved being called Grandma and had become close with Maya. Everything that had seemed broken 5 years ago was now healed. Not perfectly. There were still complicated moments with her parents. There were still media intrusions into her privacy. There was still the occasional person who wanted something from her. But the foundation was solid. The marriage was strong. The family was healthy. The work was meaningful. One day, Arya received a letter. It was from David Zhang, the producer she had briefly dated before meeting Adrian, the man whose name had been used in Victoria's false scandal. Dear Arya, I hope this letter finds you well. I've been following your journey from afar, and I'm so proud of what you've accomplished. You have a voice that changed the world, and you deserve all the success you've achieved. I wanted to write and tell you that I never believed the scandal. When that article came out, I knew immediately it was false. I gave an interview with your legal team making clear that I never had an affair with you, that the text messages were fabricated, and that I fully supported you. I just wanted you to know that you had my support then, and you have it now. I'm actually working with the Second Chances Foundation now. I heard about your commitment to helping young artists, and I wanted to be part of that work. I've been mentoring some of the young musicians you've been supporting. I think it's beautiful that you've taken your success and your pain and turned it into something that helps other people. Keep changing the world with your voice. With respect and admiration. David. Arya cried when she read the letter. She realized that even in the scandal, there were people who believed in her. And now, she and David were working together toward a common purpose, helping the next generation of artists. It was a beautiful full circle. On the anniversary of the day Adrian found her under the bus shelter, Adrian and Arya did something special. They went back to Sunset Boulevard. They went back to that bus shelter. It was different now. It was cleaner. It was maintained. Adrian had actually funded a project to renovate all the old bus shelters in the area and turn them into community spaces. They stood there together, his arm around her, her head on his shoulder, looking at where their story had begun. I still remember how desperate I felt that day, Arya said quietly. I still remember thinking my life was over. I still remember not knowing how I would survive the night. I remember pulling over, Adrian said. I remember seeing you and knowing I couldn't drive past. I remember knowing in that moment that my life was about to change. Do you think if you had driven past, we would have found each other anyway? Arya asked. Adrian thought about the question. I don't know, he said honestly, but I'm grateful we didn't have to find out. I'm grateful I pulled over. I'm grateful that one moment of human connection changed both of our lives. Arya turned to face him. His handsome mixed-race face was peaceful and happy. His curly hair was perfectly maintained even in the evening breeze. His dark eyes showed the depth of a man who had lived a full life and found meaning in it. I love you, she said. I love you too, he said, and he kissed her as the Los Angeles skyline lit up behind them. Moral of this story. This is the story of what happens after the fairy tale ends. It's easy to think that once you achieve your dream, once you get the love, once you get the success, you'll be happy forever. Happily ever after the end. But real life is more complicated than that. Real success brings new challenges. Real love requires constant work. Real happiness is something you have to choose every single day. Arya and Adrian's story didn't end when they got married. Their story continued through success and exhaustion and scandal, and loss and healing and growth. Their story is not perfect. Their relationship is not always easy, but it's real, it's authentic, it's built on truth. And that's more beautiful than any fairy tale. Arya used her success to help others. She chose her family over her career. She prioritized her well-being. She became a woman of substance and integrity. Adrian chose love over wealth accumulation. He chose meaningful work over maximum profit. He became a man of character and compassion. Together, they changed not just their own lives, but thousands of lives through their foundation. They proved that it's possible to have success and happiness. It's possible to have love and growth. It's possible to achieve your dreams and still feel fulfilled. But only if you're willing to make the hard choices. Only if you're willing to prioritize what actually matters. Only if you're willing to keep showing up for each other, even when it's difficult. This is the story of Adrian and Arya. This is the story of love that survives scandal and betrayal and exhaustion and success. This is the story of two people who were saved by each other and then spent their lives saving others. Subscribe to this channel for more stories about real love, real growth, and real transformation. Thank you for following Arya and Adrian's journey. This is their story, but your story is still being written.